One thing I want to pick up on, and this is, unfortunately part of the darker side of training and sport here, but we're starting to see more and more men come forward with what you experience, right? Disordered eating, red S, and the side effects that leads to. And from our work together and, my clinical world, that's one of the areas that I work on in particular. And I push, right? Like even when we're talking marathon stuff all the time, it's like, are you feeling, are you getting your 80 to 100 grams, right? And so how did you, kind of find yourself in the midst of that, and what were the ramifications of doing that like so young in your career?
Yeah, so I guess well, the ramifications were, maybe seven stress fractures, two sacral stress fractures, red S, where the doctor is monitoring everything you do and sidelining you, and well, you run like garbage. So that's the bad side of things. I think there was a certain point within second year where I just I was like this one particular night was like absolute rock bottom. I was injured, I was sad, I was like felt lonely. I think it was just like I had no sort of feeling. I was just my mind was just grayscale. Everything was monotone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well that's rock bottom. So anything a little bit better than that is an improvement. And we were sort of coming back into things, and eventually I transferred back home. And when I transferred back home, it's like, okay, well, you're not at this big school. There's no big expectations. Like you have to qualify for regionals. You're sleeping in your parents' basement. It's like, if you're getting out for a run, that's good. No one had really made me sort of any training until, like I started back at UBC. And, I guess during that time, it was like, that was a full reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I already experienced rock bottom. Anything better than that was good. And that's kind of why I'm like totally open to sharing that from thereafter about red S and all that stuff. It's just because I'm like, I really just don't care. Like I've experienced that. We're past it. And then from there on, I think like, it's just like, I just enjoyed being able to get out there and crush bigger workouts. And I enjoyed that way more than trying to adhere to some like perfectionist mindset of like, this is what I have to look like, and in order to perform better, which obviously wasn't even the right equation to be buying into in the first place.
It's funny, like we've come a long way, right? Because our first days at UBC coincided the same, right? Like you came back to UBC and I started coaching at UBC like the same season, same time, right? Obviously it was home for you, it was a big move for me, but I was thinking about this in preparing to talk to you today. Do you remember our first conversation that summer before I got to campus, like after I just got the job and you and I had connected?
I don't totally remember all the details, but I remember like sharing. And actually, I think that was actually one thing. One thing I do remember was one of those first conversations. Like I told my coach in second year that like, hey, I'm like, I don't really know how to say this, but I'm kind of going through this phase of having like an eating disorder, and like I'm trying to get it under control. I'm seeing therapy, blah blah blah. And he was just like, okay, cool, but like I don't really care. Like that was like, he didn't. I mean, maybe didn't exactly say those words, but he just like, he didn't care. And so
Yeah.
when I told you, and I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get this under control more. Like you were like, okay, yeah, totally understand. This is something that like we've talked about with like other athletes in the past and blah blah blah. And I think that was like the most surprising reaction. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, no one's ever responded in that way. Yeah.
I remember that part, and I'm glad I was able to be there for you. I didn't know much about your situation at the time, but one of the other things I remember at the back of that conversation, I have this weird memory. I was at National Track Champs in Ottawa, and I was in the Airbnb upstairs. I can tell you exactly where I was. My memory's weird like that, but I remember saying to you, "Hey, if you get this like sorted out, and we have a good couple of years, like you could be a really good marathoner." And I think that's funny now because we're looking back like 2 years into marathon training now, and you've had quite a successful like two races, third coming up here, right?
Yeah.
But I think I want to be clear, that wasn't me, foreshadowing or me being some sort of a genius. I think that was you recognizing like, hey, I have an opportunity to do this stuff if I, work through my demons and slay my dragons. So kudos to you on doing that, because it's not easy, right? I know you've probably seen plenty of people along the pathway not come back from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.